Story 1. Am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend's office Christmas party after he repeatedly humiliated me in front of his coworkers? This happened last weekend, and I can't stop thinking about it. My boyfriend, 30 male, invited me, 28 female, to his company's Christmas dinner, and I was excited, but also nervous. I wanted to make a good impression, so I spent a lot of time picking the perfect outfit, doing my hair, and ensuring I was presentable. When we arrived, everything seemed fine at first. I introduced myself to his coworkers, and they were polite, if not a little stiff. As the night went on, though, things took a turn. During dinner, my boyfriend made a joke about my job. I'm an event planner and he works in corporate finance. He said something like, "She just plans parties for a living while I'm out here making real money." People laughed, but I felt a lump in my throat. I work hard, and I'm proud of what I do, so hearing him belittle me like that stung. I tried to laugh it off to keep things light, but then he doubled down. Someone asked me about my favorite event I'd planned, and before I could answer, he interrupted saying, "Probably one of those kids' birthday parties. That's her level of expertise." Everyone laughed again, and I just sat there mortified. The final straw came during dessert when people were sharing funny stories. He decided to tell an embarrassing story about me that I've explicitly asked him not to share before. It's a personal story from early in our relationship involving a mishap I had while meeting his parents. I was practically begging him with my eyes to stop, but he told the story anyway. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Everyone was laughing, and I wanted to disappear. I quietly told him I wasn't okay with what he was doing, but he brushed me off saying, "Don't be so uptight. It's all in good fun." At that point, I couldn't take it anymore. I excused myself, thanked the host, and left. When he got home, he was furious, accusing me of embarrassing him by leaving. He said I made him look bad in front of his coworkers and that I was being overly sensitive. Now he's refusing to apologize and insists I owe him an apology for overreacting. My friends are split. Some say I should have stayed and dealt with it later, while others think he crossed the line. So, am I the a-hole for walking out? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. If he doesn't understand that he publicly humiliated you and tries to make himself the victim, that's a big red flag. Agreed, the way he turned it around on me was the most upsetting part. It feels like he's more worried about his image than how I felt. Definitely a red flag. He is more worried about his image. That's a fact. He showed you he was. Not the a-hole. Why is he still your boyfriend? Dude is a huge a-hole. Ditch him, and whichever friends are siding with him, they're all trash. Honestly, I'm starting to question it myself. This isn't the first time he's made me the butt of a joke, but it's never been this bad or this public before. I thought maybe he was just trying to impress his coworkers, but at what cost? As for the friends siding with him, yeah, it's making me rethink some of those relationships too. He should be your ex. If he loved you, he would be proud of your job and would have been your biggest cheerleader. Instead, he used you to stroke his own ego, even knowing he was hurting you. He should not need to impress his coworkers at your expense, ever. Not the a-hole. Why are you with this jealous, insensitive, very low self-esteem douchebag that gets to feel like the man by putting you down? He doesn't respect you. You apologize when he grovels for forgiveness. But do you trust him after this? Respect should be the bare minimum in a relationship, and this showed how little he has for me. Trust is definitely shaken, and honestly, I'm questioning if there's anything left to salvage. Not the a-hole here. I think you did the right thing. He was using you to look clever in front of his colleagues. You were in a vulnerable position as you had not met them before, and it was his territory. Very bad form. Instead of supporting me, he used me to look clever, knowing I was out of my element. He made himself look worse than he did you. I am sure some of those people, at least, think less of him after his performance. I was wondering why nobody pointed out exactly this. He just told on himself to all and sundry. He's a weak, insecure little guy who apparently stops at nothing to get laughs. Dredging up OP's mishap, i.e. not his own, was icing on the cake for that a-hole diploma he apparently was gunning for. Not the a-hole, but you spelled ex-boyfriend wrong. This person does not love or respect you or what you are doing. You are better than that. Ex-boyfriend is starting to sound a lot more accurate. If love and respect aren't there, what's the point? Exactly. He doesn't like you. He doesn't respect you. He doesn't see you as an equal partner. Time to move on. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for taking everything that's mine when my roommate asked me to move out? My 21 male roommate, 21 female, and I moved into an apartment together about 5 months ago. We're friends, and she was the one who found the place and put me on the lease to sign. I was nothing but respectful as a roommate. We split chores, I did my dishes, and there wasn't any tension between us, or so I thought. One day, while I was out, she texted me saying she needed to talk when I got home. When I returned, she sat me down and told me she wanted me to move out. She said she didn't think she wanted to continue living with me. She'd already talked to the landlord and set a move-out date for January 1st. I was blindsided but didn't put up a fight. I decided to leave as quickly as I could because why stay somewhere I'm not wanted? I scrambled to find another place, and in the process, I realized something important. I paid for pretty much everything in the apartment. The plates, couch, TV, router for the Wi-Fi, which I also paid for, and all the cool stuff in the apartment were purchased out of my pocket. So I told her I'd be taking everything I bought when I moved out. She said, okay. On the day I moved out, I rented a truck and took all my things. She wasn't home, so when she came back to the apartment, it was basically empty. She freaked out and started texting and calling me. When I answered, she went on a rant about how I shouldn't have taken everything, how bad the apartment looked now, and how she was supposed to explain the situation to her friends. I calmly reminded her that I'd told her I was taking the things I bought, and she agreed. She hung up on me, but then started telling our mutual friends what happened. Now some of them are calling me an a-hole for leaving her in a bare apartment, while others say I did the right thing because it was all my stuff anyway. For what it's worth, I didn't leave her with nothing. I left the mini fridge, though I took the liquor that was inside it, so I feel like I was considerate enough. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments, not the a-hole. This reminds me of another Reddit story about a renter who built a beautiful garden in the backyard of a house she rented. The landlord then informed her that he was going to sell the property and she'd have to relocate. She found another house and took the garden with her. All the garden components were above ground in planters and other structures. When she moved, the landlord started to harass her for taking all of it with her since the house details included pics of the garden, which raised the overall property value. You only took what you brought with you. Your ex-roomie can kick rocks. I remember that one. The landlord even posted the for sale pictures of what she had done, and because of that, she was able to list it as a higher price. I remember. There is an even better one where a guy moves into a cheap apartment and asks if he can remodel it, and says he will return it back to original condition when he moves. Landlord said it was okay, and he remodeled with a signed contract saying he will return house to original condition. He worked at a company for high-end model homes and was able to take the whole kitchen and put it in the apartment in a week, placing all the old kitchen in a storage unit. The landlord dies, and the daughter comes and sees how nice the apartment is, and then evicts the renter, saying she is selling the place. She takes pictures of the place to show in the ad. So, he spends a week taking out the remodeled kitchen and putting it back to original, and the daughter was pissed. He shows her the contract, and she is left with an apartment she can't sell for what she wanted. The poster of this story included photos. The kitchen looked very, very nice. He kept the old kitchen in a storage unit. He was going to leave the new kitchen, but when the daughter played her hand, he was ready. Not the a-hole she wanted you gone and you took your belongings with you. That's normal and expected. You should never leave a roommate to deal with things that don't belong to them. If she didn't want you as a roommate, she can't expect you to leave your things behind. It's fair to take what you paid for. Plus, sounds like you were considerate with the fridge. Not the a-hole. You no longer live there. There is no reason for your property to be there. Tell your friends that they are welcome to furnish your former roommate's home if they feel so strongly about it. But she isn't your responsibility. Have you canceled the Wi-Fi yet? Not the a-hole. Op, It kind of sounds like she kicked you out thinking she was going to keep some of your cool stuff and is pissed you took what belongs to you. Don't feel bad. Everything about your ex-roommate sounds shady, so of course she's spreading lies and rumors. Not the a-hole. When I lived with a-holes and decided to move out, I took what I brought into the shared house, including the coffee pot. I tossed said coffee pot in the dumpster around the corner because I didn't need it, but it was mine to do with what I wanted. I was told by a remaining housemate the absolute tantrum thrown by the reason I left was so loud the house shook and dust rained from the ceiling at 4 a.m. Then an hour later, she got pissed again when she realized I took my crock pot. And then again because I took my Xbox. Don't crap on people who bought your appliances. This happened to me once, but the roommate was not amazing. I was moving out of my college town after graduating, and I left my mattress in my room for a friend of mine to pick up the next day for their use. Somehow, old roommate got this information and told one of her friends to stay in the apartment and keep it locked so my friend couldn't have the mattress. My friend arrived and knocked, only to see old roommate's friend in the window. He called the police on my friend for trying to break in. I called the landlord and explained that I left it there for my friend, but the landlord explained to me that I can't have outsiders there while I'm not, which is exactly what old roommate was doing. My friend and I took the loss of my mattress in stride, although annoyed at the pettiness, and the old roommate ended up defaulting on their lease. I found this out because over 6 months after I moved states, the landlord was calling me asking if I knew where old roommate was because she owed him so much money and had just disappeared from the apartment entirely. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for confronting my guest at the doorway after she insulted my cooking in front of everyone? So this happened last night, and I'm still a little upset about it. I, 32 female, hosted a dinner at my house for a few close friends and family members. I've been experimenting with some new recipes recently, and I decided to cook a big meal for everyone. Stuff like a homemade pasta dish, roasted vegetables, and a special dessert. I spent hours preparing everything, making sure it was just right. Dinner went pretty well overall. Everyone seemed to enjoy the food and the conversation was great. But towards the end of the evening, as guests were starting to leave, my friend Tanya, 34 female, stopped by the doorway to thank me. She was the last to leave, and she had already given me a quick compliment about the atmosphere, but then she made a comment that caught me off guard. She said, "The food was okay, but honestly, I don't think I'll be back for dinner if you're cooking again. It's just not really my thing, you know?" I was kind of stunned. I'd worked hard on the meal and had made sure to cater to different tastes. I wasn't expecting everyone to rave about it, but that comment felt so dismissive, especially since it was said in front of a couple of other people who were still there. I was embarrassed, and it felt like she didn't respect the effort I put in. I told her that if she didn't like it, she didn't need to say it so bluntly, especially in front of other people. She laughed it off and said I was being dramatic, but then I told her that it wasn't okay to insult someone's work like that. She got defensive and said I was overreacting, that it was just her opinion and she didn't mean anything personal. But I wasn't about to let it slide. She ended up leaving shortly after, and now a couple of our mutual friends are saying I made a scene over something trivial. But honestly, it felt disrespectful, and I don't think she should have said anything like that, especially after I went out of my way to host a nice evening. Am I the a-hole for confronting Tanya about the comment at the doorway? Now for the comments. Your friend is not a good friend, much less a gracious guest. You should have told her not to worry because she won't be invited back. Not the a-hole. I really wanted to reply back to her in this way, but I couldn't get myself to do it at the moment. I usually am not like that. Don't invite the people defending her either. Tanya is usually really blunt, but I've never had her say something so rude about anything I've made for her. She's also been a bit critical in the past, but this felt like the final straw. I've always supported her when she hosted events, and I just don't think it's fair to throw a comment like that at someone after they've spent so much time and energy to make an event nice. Funny how those folks who love to be blunt can dish it out but can never take it. I would never invite her over to eat again. She's a jerk. Not the a-hole. That was rude. If you had asked and she had politely said that it was good but not really her cup of tea, or maybe, might I recommend some more oregano, or something, that would be one thing. But she didn't just politely criticize one aspect of your cooking. She just flat out insinuated that you suck at cooking generally, and she never wants to eat it again. So, she will get her wish. Don't ever invite her again. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my coworker with her project after she took credit for mine? I, 30 female, work in a team of 5 at a marketing company, and we've been working on a big project for the past few weeks. I've been putting in a lot of extra hours, staying late, and really pushing myself to get things done on time. My coworker, Rachel, 28 female, is part of the team, but she's been a little disengaged. She's been missing meetings, showing up late, and not really contributing much to the work. I've tried to help her get caught up and offered to work together, but she always seems too busy or distracted. Last week, we were finalizing the project, and I sent over my section for review. When it came time for the presentation to the higher-ups, I found out that Rachel had basically copied my work and presented it as her own. She didn't even acknowledge that I helped her, or that the work was mine. I was pretty livid, but didn't say anything during the meeting, trying to keep it professional. Afterward, I confronted her about it, and she played it off like it was no big deal. She said she was just too busy and didn't have time to work on her part, so she used mine as a reference. I told her that it wasn't a reference, it was my actual work, and she took credit for it. Now she's asking me to help her with her next part of the project, but I'm really upset and don't feel like I should. I've worked hard, and I feel like she's trying to take advantage of me. Our boss has noticed she's been slacking lately and is counting on me to help, but I just don't think I can support someone who has already taken advantage of me like this. I'm getting a lot of pressure from the team and even some friends to just let it go, but I'm standing firm on not helping her. Am I the a-hole here for refusing to help her after what she did? Now for the comments. You need to talk to your boss about her taking credit for your work and explain that you aren't comfortable with putting in that amount of work for her to steal it. She needs to step up and do her own work. Agreed. Bringing this up with your boss is essential to set the record straight and protect your hard work. Rachel needs to take responsibility for her tasks, and it's fair to hold her accountable. OP has already gone above and beyond for the team. Rachel's actions were dishonest, and it's not OP's responsibility to bail her out after she betrayed her. I've always tried to be a team player and help others, but I feel like Rachel is taking advantage of me. I don't think I should be expected to help someone who didn't do their part and took credit for my work. I'm just trying to protect my own contributions and not let her walk all over me. I'd suggest quietly meeting with your boss. Forward your time-stamped email that has your work, which she later referenced as her own. Talk about the hours you have been putting in. If possible, I'd ask for either overtime pay, recognition, or to be moved to another team. I'd never want to work with this snake again. You need to gather any and all CYA proof you have. Cover your ass. Document, even in a calendar or just a simple Word document or equivalent of conversations you remember. Like, 2024-12-08. Rachel admitted she used my work and was not a big deal when I expressed how uncomfortable I was that she did not give me credit for the work. Stated she had been too busy to do her own work. Go over your calendar and try to mark what meetings she missed. Then go to your boss with the organized documentation. Keep copies. Blind copy yourself to an outside email address any correspondence you have with Rachel and/or HR. You need to play this correctly so you don't end up looking bad. I would start with your boss and tell them what happened, but with a concern for Rachel. As in, "Hey boss, I don't know what's up with Rachel. I attempted to help her with meeting the last deadline, and she refused, but then proceeded to present my work as hers. Now she's asking for my help, and while I can, I've got no confidence in her abilities, and to be honest, not feeling particularly helpful after she stole my work. I'm more interested in delivering the best work for the client. I just don't think Rachel is capable of making that happen. How do you want to proceed?" It's presenting the facts, but also letting your boss know you're interested in the outcome, which ultimately what pays the bills, not the a-hole.
Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.